Hi everybody, thanks for watching my videos. It's really a lot of fun creating these Linux videos because people seem to like them and I get a lot of good feedback and I appreciate that. First off, I'm going to show you what I do when I have a fresh install of a distribution like Linux Mint. This is Linux Mint, the standard Cinnamon edition on a fresh install on a laptop, bare bones. It's not in a virtual machine like I think a lot of tutorials are. This is a real world scenario on a 5-year-old machine, and I think it's a good example of what Linux can run on, and it runs very well on this 5-year-old machine that doesn't even have a graphics acceleration in it. It doesn't have a NVIDIA chip. It's just all Intel, and something that you might find on eBay. You go on eBay and pick up a laptop for a couple $100, like I did before, and you can run a Linux on something like that. And let's start out with what I normally do first. So when I install a fresh, desktop, I like to do updates. And when you log into something like Linux Mint for the first time, you'll get an update down here, like a little exclamation mark with, where the shield is, and you just update it. It's really easy. It's a lot easier than Windows, and it works. It doesn't like take 2 hours to update usually, if your connection's good, that is. But you'll get a welcome panel in Linux and in Linux Mint, and it looks like this. It's this welcome screen. Welcome to Linux Mint. And the part I like is the first steps. It kind of takes a lot of customization work, um, out of your hair. You don't have to worry about it. As far as the panel layout, which I like. I like the traditional look, which is like kind of the Windows XP, like wider icons on the taskbar. I love that. That's my favorite look. And Linux Mint has that. Yeah, you can go back and forth. You can switch to the Windows, 7 and up look, just like this. But I prefer this way. And you can see just how easy it is to switch back. Now, if you were to do this manually, and you'd have to go to like panel edit mode. Let's see, is there a panel edit? Yeah, I believe you can look under the control panel or the system settings, but it's not going to be obvious. Where you could just right click and change it. It does it right here for you. They just take that out of your hands, so it's nice. You can change to dark mode. I don't personally care. I like it and I don't like it. I go back and forth. System snapshots, something I really recommend to set up. That is just Time Shift. It's an application that's already installed. Time Shift, right here you can see it. So when you launch it, it will always ask for your password. And well, here's the wizard that you'll see upon launching it the first time. It's going to look just like this. And I just recommend you keep rsync selected. You click next, and you're going to probably just click next again. And you're going to check the frequency that you would like for your snapshots. I'm not going to really call these backups because a backup would be actually backing up the computer and storing it somewhere else. These are stored right on your computer. So I like to think of these as just backing up your settings. So in case you screw something up or download an app that breaks something, you can just go back in time to how you had it. And I've done that before where I've screwed something up and I just reverted back to a previous snapshot. Think of it like SharePoint document versioning if you've ever used that before. It's a snapshot and you can go back in time. Or, time machine on a Mac, I guess. So right here, I like to do weekly. I don't do daily. I just do weekly. I keep 3 backups and I click next. You can do daily if you'd like. That's the default. And I just keep these defaults selected. I click next and then I click finish and they're scheduled. I don't have to do anything from here. Now, if something were to happen, and right here, it already created a backup. I did not do that. So I did not notice my computer running slower. It just somehow completed the backup without me knowing. And now if I install something like I'm about to do for this demo, and I broke something, I could simply click this back up, click restore, it reboots my computer and takes me back to a working computer. That is just awesome. So let's close that. We don't have to think about it anymore. Update Manager, that's already covered because that was that little icon that you would see down here when you first log in. You don't really have to update again if you just did it. And we're just going to close this for now. And before I close it, I like to uncheck this box so it doesn't show up at every time I log in. So yeah, that's the first thing I like to do right away. So the welcome screen, we got that out of the way. The next is the time and the date. If you look down here at the bottom right, maybe you don't like the time and date format of 24-hour clock or military time. A lot of people do, but I like AM and PM. I'm just used to it. It's easier for me to glance over and see it and not have to think about subtracting 12 or whatever. It's just in my head as AM and PM. So I click this little Linux Mint button right here. It's, or you can press the window key on your keyboard, which is also known as the meta key. And you type in the word time, and then you'll see date and time. So I just go select that. And right here you can uncheck or turn the slider off on use 24-hour clock. So now you can see it's 12:34 a.m. Yes, I'm recording this at 12:34 a.m. I don't sleep very much. I guess people like myself that look at computers for a living don't sleep as much as they should often. I like to also display the date. And right here you got Sunday, June 5th, 12:34 a.m. Very cool. And you can see I'm in the Detroit time zone. That's correct. And I'm just going to close that. Oh, now I just set off the Echo, the Amazon Echo. Updates, we already covered that, but yeah, I think we're good on updates. So the next thing I like to do, I uninstall Firefox. But before I do that, I install LibreWolf, which is a fork of Firefox, because I don't know, I just think Mozilla as a company has been going through some rough times, and it just seems like, I don't know, I'm just not a big fan of their browser like I used to be, and I still want to support something based on, you know, the way Firefox was built, as well as, other browsers like Brave. But I understand that Brave is built on Chromium, which Google Chrome is built with. So, some Linux purists might think like, I don't use a Chromium-based browser. I understand that, and I just use it to have options more so. I mean, if I'm on a Mac, I'm going to use Safari once in a while, but I try to use open source browsers. So LibreWolf is a really good one. I recommend. So what you can do is get started. To get started installing is going to the App Center or the Software Manager, which is the App Store on Linux. So we're going to go to Software Manager. You can tell I need to get some rest by the way I'm talking tonight. Wow, it's almost me every day. By the time I get around to having time to record a Linux video, I start talking like this. So we'll type in LibreWolf. I'm going to start typing it. It'll probably come up. There it is. And we're going to click on install. And you'll see how easy this is. It's going to tell you all the dependencies that it needs to complete the install. You might have to type your password. I did not because I think it's a flat pack perhaps. Is it? Yes, it's a flat pack. So sometimes they'll just install for you without a password. But the downside to a flat pack, as you can see, the size over here is 756 megabytes. That's pretty darn hefty. But sometimes it's not in, the repository where the software catalog is, but FlatHub, which this is getting the Flatpak from, has it. So of course I'm going to take it because it's really easy and I'm going to install it. So let's see. It's just about done installing. Let's minimize the window here. And we're going to go to Internet. Let's see if it pops up in real time. Oh, it's still installing. Wow. There it goes. Let's click launch here. It's a little quicker, but just to show you, it will show up here. There it is. Icon shows up right away. Sometimes in XFCE versions of Linux Mint, it doesn't appear right away and I have to reboot. But here we are. LibreWolf, that actually launched very quickly for a flat pack, so I'm very impressed. It does come with this uBlock origin by default. I don't know. I don't necessarily recommend it. I recommend blocking at your home level if you have a server in your house or a Raspberry Pi that can block ads, but I like to remove this. That's just me. And from this point, now that I have a browser that I know that works, I'm going to remove Firefox. So we're going to search for Firefox, and you're going to see that I have it installed. And there's a little check mark up here. I'm going to click on it. I'm going to click remove. And now I do not need Firefox as my browser on my computer anymore. And you'll see that things uninstall very quickly in Linux, much quicker than on a PC. Again, I'm running old hardware, and this is flying. So let's see what I have next on the list, just to see that I cover everything I wanted to tonight. Uninstall Firefox, I did it. Time shift, I already covered that. No machine. So yes, there is VNC, and I use VNC almost every day in my career. However, I prefer no machine on my home machines. I think it works much better, kind of like remote desktop for Windows RDP. But I just feel like no machine's easier to use in Linux, and it's growing on me. Is it open source? I don't believe so. So what we can do, we're going to go to the website. We're going to go back to the internet here, and I'm going to do this live. Because the last time I installed it was in Arch Linux. All right, Well, the browser's kind of choppy. I don't recommend DuckDuckGo. I've heard they've like not been so privacy respecting like they claim to be, and now they're advertising on TV. So I don't recommend DuckDuckGo. Maybe StartPage.com or Yandex. I don't know. I guess Google for now because whatever. This is a video, and Google is still the most powerful search engine. So we're going to search for No Machine Linux, and we're going to install it. And if you're running like a different distribution, such as, Manjaro, it probably has No Machine in the repositories if you enable the Arch user repository. But right here, you can just download a Debian, a deb file right here you see. And I recommend the 64-bit version because all Linux distributions nowadays, with the exception of a few that have a couple 32-bit options, they're going to be 64-bit. So just get the 64-bit version, download that sucker, and you're going to install it once it downloads, just like you would an exe in Windows. So now we got my downloader here. It's already done. I'm going to open it up. I'll close my browser. Oh, maybe I closed it too soon. Let's go to my downloads folder, and there it is. Double click it. There it is. I thought I clicked it and I didn't. Type in my password, and it's going to install just like that. This is a very powerful remote desktop tool, by the way. And it works so well. It keeps the screen awake. It just stays latched onto the computer it connects to. I feel like it doesn't let go until you disconnect, and I like that. So we already installed it. That was quick. And here's something else I like in Linux Mint that's built in. When you right-click on a file, you get the option to delete it, which skips the trash can if you would like to, or you can just move it to the trash. But I like to delete it. Click delete, and you'll see that it doesn't go in the trash can. It's gone. It's gone forever. So that's pretty cool. So if we go here under the internet, you'll see I have No Machine, and there's the service to run so that I could remote into this desktop anytime I want to. And I'll be doing that soon because it's very handy to be able to remote into a desktop if you don't want to use the keyboard and you're on your desktop somewhere else. Maybe I don't want to reach over and use the trackpad on this laptop, but it's quicker for me to use a mouse and keyboard on a remote machine that has a much bigger screen, which is generally what I do. So let's go to the next item here. We're getting pretty close to finishing up. So I want to install a couple apps. I want to install Stacer and GIMP. Those are two of my favorites because I noticed that GIMP does not come packaged with Linux Mint. If you look under the graphics menu here, a lot of distributions will have GIMP. Linux Mint doesn't, which I don't blame them because it saves some space. But I do like to have a photo editing program, and GIMP is the one I generally go with. So on my keyboard, if I press Control-Alt-T, so that's Control plus Alt plus T, it will bring up the terminal. Yes, you can just click down here, but I think these keyboard shortcuts are quicker. And if you want to install more than one app at a time in Linux, you can just simply add a space between the app names. So you're normally going to type sudo apt install space the application name, so GIMP, but I'm also going to install Stacer. So I'll just do a space, Stacer, and then I do another space and I hit this little hyphen and then letter Y. All that's doing is just skipping the do you want to install it question and just says yes already. It answers ahead of time. You don't have to put the Y there, but I do it because it's just all one command. So when I type that command, it's going to ask for my password. When I say yes, or when I enter it, you can see it just moves and installs both applications. And watch how fast this goes. I mean, that is blazing fast. And here we go. Let's go under graphics. There's GIMP right there. Let's launch it. A perfectly installed, compiled app. It just works right away. It doesn't even work that fast on my Xeon processor workstation. That is a beast with an NVIDIA graphics chip. I swear it doesn't launch that quick. I don't know why it doesn't, but it just doesn't. So let's go see if we have Stacer. That should be under system. Under administration, I think. No, accessories maybe. You think I know my system better? Where does it put it under? I know I can just type it, but accessories. Stacer, there it is. Okay, so here's my favorite little utility. I am using 3.8 gigs of RAM. I know that probably one of those gigs is me recording this 60 frames a second right now, but still, it seems like a little bit of RAM that's using. So what you can do, you can go to these different areas and look for the services and processes that are running. Right here you can see, oh, there I am. I'm using 400 megabytes. And then Stacer itself is, I think, an Electron app, so that's why it's using 123 megs, which is pretty hefty. Cinnamon, part of Cinnamon's using 175. Pulse Audio, that's probably me recording. So that's in addition to the simple screen recorder. I'm recording this audio that I'm talking to you with, and it's encoding to MP3. This right here is another 19 megs. Nemo, that's just my file manager that's open, like this file explorer. And really just a bunch of services that are running. Generally, this runs around 1.2 gigabytes of RAM, which is still okay in my book. That's fine. And it's perfectly stable. But right now, I am using a bit of RAM, which still out of 16 gigs is not a big deal. So let's quit that and see what else we had on the list. Are we almost done? Here's one I want to show you. I don't feel like I see this one online a lot, but this is something I use. And it's a desktop template, but these are templates you just put in a folder and they become available in a menu. And here's what I'm talking about. If you right click on your desktop and you go to create new document, you'll see this little grayed out area called no templates installed. So what you do is there's this folder. If you go in your home directory, you'll see templates here. You don't see it here on like the favorites generally, but you'll see it right here. Create a document, maybe any kind of document you want, that can be considered a template. So let's start with something like an Office document. How about that? So, if you will, this is your Microsoft Word document or Office document. And you're going to make a template that just says something like, to whom it may concern. Thank you so much for taking the time to, and this is complete BS, obviously. Well, if I wouldn't hit the touchpad, I could type a little better too, huh? Okay. So here's just a fake document. So we'll hit save, and we're just going to save it in the templates folder right here. And we're just going to name it TY. Oops, why is it? I'm in the wrong box up here. TY for reaching. So this is my thank you for reaching out template that I'm going to use for everybody, right? So I'm going to hit enter and save it and close this. So now you see it's in my templates folder, but I don't have to let that mess me up. It's gone. I can forget about it because now if I right click anywhere, I can even go into a folder. I could go into my documents folder. I can right click here, create new document. Thank you for reaching out template. So what it does is it grabs it from that template directory, pastes that copy into whatever folder you're pasting it into, and then you can just start working on it. More or less, it's just doing a copy of a copy, which, stops you from having to do a repeat action. So it's like copying from a source, pasting it, so you're not going to destroy the source. That is your template. So right here, I'm going to click on, I created it, but I can give it a name now, John Doe. So I'm responding to him for reaching out, and I'm writing him a letter. So, I can just write John Doe. Thank you so much for, and then just save it. You get the idea. So then I got John Doe's letter there. I can right click and I can go create another one. Jane Doe, and so on. So it's really quick. It's something simple that's been in Linux for years. It's been in XFCE desktop, and at least it's been in UP. It's been on XFCE. I'm not sure if it's been in KDE, but it's been in GNOME. I've been using it for a long time, and it's something that they've always included, and I love it. I'm glad they never got rid of that feature. So we created a desktop template. That's easy enough. Another one is Obsidian. Now this is an optional step, big time optional, but I'm really sold on Obsidian. I love it, and how it interacts with SyncThing, which is my favorite sync tool nowadays. And I'm not going to do a SyncThing tutorial because that's an entire hour-long thing that I could go over and setting it up on your computers. More or less just think of SyncThing as a peer-to-peer file sharing, file backup, I guess you'd call it that way, or just thinking of it as like a ring of computers in your house that can keep files synced. So I use that as my Dropbox nowadays, if you will. So we're going to kind of skip that part, but I'm going to show you Obsidian and how I install it, and what I'm talking about when it comes to syncing it or backing it up somewhere. You can use Dropbox, you can use iCloud, you can use whatever you want. But I recommend Syncing because it's free and open source, and you know that your data is saved with yourself, right? Nobody else is controlling it except for you. So we'll go back to the software manager, and we're going to look up Obsidian. And Obsidian is a Markdown-based knowledge base. And you don't need to know Markdown, but you'll learn basic Markdown just by using it. You might not even know it, that you're learning it. So we're going to install that, and it won't take too long. And we're going to launch it. So this is what Obsidian looks like, and you can install this on your Mac, you can install it on your PC. I do this, I have it on my PC and I sync it between Linux, and anytime I go on my PC, as long as my other computer's on, it's going to catch up and sync to those documents. Well, I keep my computers on all the time, but at least when I'm working on them, so if I turn two computers on, they're just going to sync. I don't need a server somewhere holding that data. This is my server, my own desktop. So as long as the computer is on, it's always keeping the data fresh, right? So what I do normally is I have a folder. So let's pretend you have your OneDrive folder or your, iCloud or Dropbox. Dropbox runs in Linux. If you want to use that, I did for years. I'm not going to lie. But you can pretty much just open a vault. But what you're going to do if this is your first time using it, you're going to create a new vault and you're going to pick the folder where you want to store it. That's getting synced. So let's just pretend this is your, I'm just going to name it dummy folder. And we're going to go browse, and we're just going to pick, documents. Pretend this is your Dropbox folder. That's all I'm doing. And you're just going to click OK, and you're going to go to create. And all this is doing is looking awesome while creating text files in the back end. So I recommend turning on live preview. It's great, and it helps with if you don't know Markdown. But now it's syncing to a folder, right? And it's just a text file. That's such little amount of data. That's what's so great about it, because data in the form of text is accessible for years to come. You could, I'd be willing to bet when I'm long gone, from this earth, and somebody looks up my data, if it's in text format, they're going to be able to read it. It's not going to be like, oh gosh, we got to use this converter to go get it. And text is text. And that's why I love Obsidian. It's not like that for other applications that are proprietary. It's some kind of format that you're going to have to hopefully remember in 50 years if somebody wants to read it. But this is just a way I know it's going to work, and I feel like it's just safe. And this is why I love it. So I keep it synchronizing again to sync thing, it's called. But you can use Dropbox, you can use whatever you want, as long as you feel safe with how they're handling your data, and you can start creating notes. Here's what I mean. So now if I just close this, we're going to go into that directory that I referenced, which was just my documents folder. And you'll see right there, there's a dummy folder. All this is files and folders. So if I go into Obsidian again, and I start creating folders in Obsidian, like in this dummy folder, I could go to new folder, dummy2, just name whatever I want. Name a folder personal, name a folder work, and I could capitalize correctly. Oops. Rename work. There we go. And if we go in here, oh my gosh, there they are. I mean, even if I did it this way, I don't recommend doing it this way, but create new folder. Poop. I mean, let's name it poop. I mean, there you go. There's a folder called poop. Whatever you want to do. I can move this folder in this folder. Oh my gosh, it copied it. There it is. And now it gets cool once you start doing text. So if you create a new file, which is a new note, if you will, like in OneNote, here you go. Give it a name. First note. And you'll see if I do control, oh gosh, why is it not? I swear I typed the letter T. If you do a control B like you would in Windows, this word is bold. So let's just control B it. And you can see what it does is it gives it the asterisk, which in Markdown that means bold when you got two asterisks on each side of a word. But when you click away from it, it just automatically converts it to show you what it looks like, the way that Markdown perceives it. But the cool thing is, let's close this again, and go back here. You can see it created a markdown note. So if I right click on this bad boy and I go to open with text editor, it's going to be looking at the code, if you will, that, so Obsidian just sees this and displays it in the pretty way that it's supposed to look. And this shows you the real way. That's also just plain text. So again, this is very readable down the road. This isn't HTML, it's not compiled code, it's just freaking text. And that is amazing to me. So let's see, do we have anything else before? I really think that's about it. I think I closed my notebook, and yeah, I'd like to thank you for watching, and I'm going to make many more of these videos. It's a lot of fun. I should probably get ready to go to bed, and have a good night.